Hi, I'm Kayley, and I'm going to talk about some college sports, or some common arguments in college sports. A common argument in the world of college sports is if student athletes should get paid for time spent playing and bringing in revenue for the NCAA and their schools. My major claim is that college athletes should not be paid to play the sport of their choice, and supporting my main claim with 4 secondary claims that I will be making are, one being athletes who are on athletic scholarship are essentially paid already. 2, why changing the system to include direct pay for athletes would be extremely difficult, and the pressure it would put on a student athlete, and lastly, how Title IX applies to this argument. First, I'm going to talk about athletes that are on athletic scholarship are essentially paid already. They're paid with tuition, which could cost $25,000+ a year. They're paid with room, meal plans, extra money for books, and like extracurricular activities. They're also paid with professional coaching, strength, and fitness training, which could be worth from $50,000 to $125,000 per year, depending on the sport and if it's a public or private university. According to Jeffrey Dorfman of Forbes.com, pro football and basketball players pay $2,000 to $3,000 per week for similar training in the weeks prior to pre-draft workouts. They also receive valuable publicity from playing college athletics. It's much easier for pro teams to evaluate their talent after watching their college careers and talking to their coaches. And then my secondary claim, which is why changing the system to include direct pay for athletes would be difficult. Only 2 or 3 sports typically make money for schools, which includes football, men's and women's basketball. The remaining sports bring little to no revenue while still costing colleges money, and because of this, most athletic departments lose money in the long run. In fact, according to USA Today, only 23 out of 228 Division I athletic programs managed to run a surplus in the year of 2012. Also, by adding direct pay, it will put financial pressure on schools to drop non-revenue sports. The given colleges that lose money on athletics, and some who don't, subsidize their programs with money from regular student tuition, and increasing pay to athletes could mean tuition increases at many colleges. My third secondary claim, which is the pressure it would put on student athletes. They're already having to succeed in the classroom, not only by NCAA standards, which requires a 2.0 to play, but a personal example, I did play college soccer, and my coach required a 3.0 to play on the field. Also, if paid based on performance already, they're under the pressure to perform not only for their school, but their coaches, teammates, and parents, which raises the question, do you pay all student athletes or only those who make an impact on the game? Which brings me to my next and final point, which is how Title IX applies to paying student athletes. For those of you who don't know what Title IX is, it's a portion of the Education Amendment of 1972, which is named the Equal Opportunity in Education Act. From NCAA.com, it says that Title IX states, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity, receiving federal financial assistance. It's impossible to only pay student athletes in revenue sports since, based off of Title IX, it would only involve 100 male and only 15 females. And so if Title IX requires that pay is on par with men's athletics, then you must pay all student athletes the same, which in turn would increase the total expense or significantly lower the pay for each student athlete, based on paying every athlete the same equally. A quote by Paul Doherty of SportsIllustrated.com says, for every student athlete demanding a paycheck, there are 10 non-athletes that can't afford to even walk in the door, to whom a college degree would mean more than just a paycheck every few weeks. So in conclusion, I definitely agree with Paul Doherty's quote, and I don't believe that college athletes should be paid other than an athletic scholarship.
All right, Kayley, your position sounds like it's a value claim at the beginning. I think the second and the third points make it a little bit more a claim of fact, but you need to find a way of phrasing it so it's clear that it's a claim of fact. On the first point, it really seems to be an argument that's responding to a value argument, which probably is, in essence, going to turn out to be a value argument in itself. You're using factual data on the particular point, but the inference that you're making is that that's fair, that's right, that's what's appropriate here, and those are all value claims. The other two arguments are a lot more factually based. Would there be complications or harms of trying to do this, and would doing this require some other action or behavior, some other change that would be problematic? And I think that you did a pretty good job explaining on those 2 points what the issues are there. So like I said, the second 2 points I think fit more clearly into the claim of fact scheme. At the end of the speech, you need to also do the same sort of thing. You need to find a way to focus this on the factual dispute about whether or not there's a need to do this, whether or not there's a benefit to doing this. And I think that you could probably then take all the same arguments that you're making, just phrase them a little bit differently, and it would fit more clearly the assignment. I thought you did a good job laying out the secondary structure. You signposted the points internally when you got to them. That part is pretty solid. The transitions could sometimes be a little bit smoother, but they're always clear. It just needed to flow a little bit more. The delivery issues are problematic. You have a tendency to read. You're looking down a lot of the time. I think you understand the concept and you need to talk to the audience a little bit more, and because you have notes, it just seems natural for you to look at those notes. Even though you're not always quoting data or statistics, you need to, I think, maybe get away from the habit of relying so much on the notes for what you're going to say. The evidence was pretty good. You had some good statistical information. I could use a signpost on, not a signpost, but a source citation on that data that you had that suggested a very small percentage. I think it was something close to 10%. You didn't give it as a percentage, but like 23 out of the 250 NCAA schools have generated a positive revenue. That's a good piece of information. And I don't doubt that it's true. Just one of those things that we ought to get some source citation on that. You were better on the quotes later on in the speech. You definitely gave us the authorities that you're quoting. The interpretation on Title IX, for instance, I think you could probably use a little bit of source citation on that, but at the end you'd have a good quote there that talks about how that integrates into the argument, so you get some credibility from that. All right. Thank you.